Have you ever told someone something personal and instantly regretted it? Welcome to Mindful Glow, where we uncover timeless wisdom to help you protect your peace and live with strength and purpose. In today's world of constant oversharing, on social media, in conversations, even in passing moments, we've forgotten the art of keeping things to ourselves. But here's the truth. Not everything is meant to be shared. Some secrets are better left untold. And today, we're going to explore why. Let me start with a story. Picture this: a serene Buddhist monastery high in the mountains, where the soft rustling of trees and the gentle ringing of wind chimes create a sense of calm. One day, a man arrives, burdened by the weight of his troubles. His face is lined with sorrow, his eyes heavy with regret. Kneeling before a wise monk, he pleads, "Master, I've lost everything, my wealth, my family, my respect. The world has turned its back on me. What am I doing wrong?" The monk listens patiently, his gaze steady and compassionate. After a moment of silence, he speaks, "My friend, your suffering does not come from the world, but from what you have given it. You've handed over your secrets, your weaknesses, and your trust too freely. Like scattering seeds on barren soil, you've allowed them to wither instead of grow." Intriguing, isn't it? What the monk shared next is more than just advice. It's life-changing wisdom. In this video, we'll explore the 7 things you should never reveal to anyone, no matter how close they seem or how tempted you are to open up. These lessons aren't just rooted in ancient Buddhist teachings. They're surprisingly relevant to modern life, especially in a time when privacy feels like a luxury. But before we dive into these 7 teachings, let's take a moment to reflect. Why do we share so much? Is it because we crave validation, hope for support, or is it simply a habit we've fallen into? Whatever the reason, every time you share a piece of yourself with someone else, you give them power to understand, to empathize, but also to judge or manipulate. And as you'll see, not everyone deserves that power. Imagine scrolling through your social media feed. A friend posts a deeply emotional rant about their personal struggles. You pause, feeling a mix of empathy and discomfort. Be honest, do you see them the same way? Or does their vulnerability change how you perceive them, even a little? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We often believe that sharing our pain will bring us closer to others. But in reality, it can do the opposite. It can make us seem weak, overly dependent, or even become the subject of gossip. Now think about this. What happens when you share your dreams, your plans, or your victories? Do you feel uplifted? Or do you notice envy creeping into the reactions of those around you? Maybe someone offers praise to your face while secretly hoping for your failure. These quiet undercurrents of jealousy and judgment can quietly sabotage the very aspirations you're trying to bring to life. This is why the monk's teachings are so profound. They're not about shutting people out. They're about reclaiming control over your own narrative. They remind us that not everyone who listens is on our side. And even well-meaning people can unintentionally harm us because they don't fully understand our journey. So, take a deep breath and think. How often do you share without truly considering the consequences? How many times have you handed over a piece of your heart to someone who didn't handle it with care? And most importantly, what would your life look like if you learned to guard your most sacred truths? Stay with me, because what we're about to uncover isn't just a list of things to keep to yourself. It's a guide to living with intention, wisdom, and strength. Together, we'll explore why discretion is the foundation of respect, how privacy can build trust, and why some of the most successful and peaceful individuals in history were masters of silence. The man in the story didn't realize this until it was almost too late. His kindness, honesty, and openness had left him vulnerable, not because they were wrong, but because they were misplaced. But you don't have to repeat his mistakes. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand what not to share, but also how to protect your peace by communicating with purpose. So, are you ready to transform the way you handle relationships, conversations, and life itself? Let's begin this journey with the first lesson the monk shared, a truth that has the power to save you from unnecessary suffering. Trust me, it's something we all do but rarely stop to question. Let's dive in. 1. Don't share your sorrow and helplessness. When the monk advised the man not to share his sorrow and helplessness, he wasn't telling him to suppress his emotions or hide his pain. Instead, he was offering a profound truth. Sharing your deepest struggles with the wrong people can leave you more exposed and vulnerable than before. This wisdom feels timeless, especially in today's world, where oversharing has become second nature. Whether it's venting to friends, posting on social media, or seeking sympathy in the wrong places, sharing too much about your pain can often lead to consequences you didn't foresee. There's a belief that sharing our pain lightens the load. And while that can be true in the right circumstances, it's not always the case. When you open up about your struggles, you are revealing a side of yourself that is raw and fragile. If the person listening lacks empathy or understanding, they may unintentionally add to your burden. Worse, they may use your vulnerability against you. Imagine confiding in someone about a tough time in your life, only to notice that they start treating you differently, not with compassion, but with pity or even judgment. Suddenly, you are no longer seen as capable or strong, but as someone who is fragile or unreliable. In some cases, your pain may even become a tool for others to manipulate you. People with selfish intentions can exploit your helplessness to serve their own agendas. It's a harsh truth, but not everyone who listens to your story wants the best for you. Even those with good intentions might inadvertently hurt you if they don't fully understand your perspective or needs. Sharing too much, too often, or with the wrong audience can amplify your pain instead of alleviating it. Take Mark, for example, a young professional navigating a challenging corporate environment. Mark was going through a difficult breakup and decided to confide in a coworker, Sarah. He poured his heart out, explaining how devastated he felt, how his confidence was shaken, and how hard it was to focus at work. Initially, Sarah seemed understanding and supportive, offering him kind words and encouragement. But over time, things started to shift. In team meetings, Sarah began to subtly mention Mark's struggles, framing him as someone who was not fully present or capable. What Mark had shared in a moment of vulnerability was now being used to diminish his credibility. Sarah wasn't being overtly cruel, but her comments had an impact. Mark's colleagues began to see him as someone who was distracted and emotionally fragile. His sorrow, once private, had turned into a professional disadvantage. Mark's story highlights the risks of oversharing. Even when we believe we are confiding in someone we can trust, the information we share can take on a life of its own. Not everyone is equipped to handle your pain with care. Some may see it as a sign of weakness, while others may unintentionally use it to shift how others perceive you. This is why the monk's wisdom is so powerful. Sharing your sorrow indiscriminately often brings more harm than good. In the modern world, social media has amplified the temptation to overshare. Platforms encourage us to broadcast every aspect of our lives, including our struggles. We're told that vulnerability is a strength. And while this is true in the right context, there's a fine line between healthy vulnerability and exposing yourself unnecessarily. Imagine posting a heartfelt message about a personal challenge online. The initial wave of supportive comments might feel comforting, but over time, you notice people treating you differently. Some may start to pull away, unsure of how to engage with someone they now perceive as too emotional or always struggling. Others may quietly judge you, forming opinions based on a snapshot of your life rather than the full picture. What's more, social media posts are permanent. What you share in a moment of pain can linger, shaping how others see you long after the moment has passed. Future colleagues, acquaintances, or even employers might stumble upon these posts, forming opinions about you that don't reflect who you are today. In trying to seek understanding or validation, you may unintentionally create more obstacles for yourself. The monk's advice doesn't mean you should bottle up your emotions or pretend that everything is fine. It's about being intentional with your audience. There are better ways to process sorrow and helplessness without putting yourself in a position of vulnerability. Sharing with someone who has proven themselves trustworthy, such as a close friend, family member, or mentor, can be deeply healing. These are the people who will listen without judgment and offer genuine support. Seeking professional help, like a therapist or counselor, is another powerful option. They provide a safe space where you can explore your feelings without fear of gossip or exploitation. For some, the most profound healing comes from within. Practices like journaling, meditation, or spending time in nature can help you process your emotions privately and find clarity in the silence. Consider the story of Emma, a single mother facing overwhelming challenges after losing her job. Feeling desperate, she considered confiding in her neighbors, hoping they might offer support or understanding. But something held her back. Instead, Emma turned inward. She started journaling her thoughts every evening, using the process to untangle her emotions. She also practiced meditation to calm her mind and center herself. Over time, Emma found a new job and rebuilt her life. Her neighbors, unaware of her struggles, continued to see her as composed and resilient. Had she shared her sorrows, they might have seen her differently, perhaps with pity or as someone dependent on their help. By processing her pain privately, Emma not only preserved her dignity but also emerged stronger. The monk's wisdom is clear. Sharing your sorrow and helplessness indiscriminately rarely leads to the relief you seek. More often than not, it leaves you feeling more exposed, misunderstood, or judged. By protecting your pain, you create a safe space for healing. This doesn't mean you should isolate yourself, but rather that you should be mindful about who you share with and why. Some emotions are too sacred to be handed over to just anyone. True strength isn't about hiding your pain. It's about knowing when and where to share it. The next time you feel the urge to vent or seek validation, pause and ask yourself, will this help me heal? Or will it make me more vulnerable? Choosing to process your emotions privately or with a trusted confidant allows you to reclaim control over your narrative. It gives you the space to move through sorrow with wisdom and grace, rather than becoming entangled in the judgments or opinions of others. Your emotions are precious, and not everyone deserves access to them. When you approach your struggles with intention and discernment, you'll find that even in your darkest moments, you possess a quiet strength capable of guiding you forward. The monk's advice is not about silence for the sake of silence. It's about protecting your peace and honoring your journey. By holding your sorrow close and sharing it wisely, you take the first step toward true resilience. 2. Your past mistakes and future plans. The monk's second lesson carries a dual message of profound importance. Never dwell on your past mistakes in front of others, and never share your future plans prematurely. While it might feel natural to unburden yourself by confessing past errors or to draw excitement from sharing your dreams, both can lead to unforeseen complications. Let's dive into why these two seemingly harmless acts can disrupt your life and how practicing discretion in these areas can lead to clarity, growth, and success. We've all made mistakes in our past. It's part of being human. Some of those mistakes might have been small, while others left deeper scars. Sharing your past errors might seem like a way to gain empathy or forgiveness. But the reality is that not everyone perceives such honesty as you intend. When you openly confess your past missteps, you unintentionally give others the power to define you by those moments. Even if you've changed, grown, or learned from your mistakes, people often have a way of freezing you in the version of yourself that made those errors. Take Sarah, for instance, a talented young designer. She once confided in her new co-workers about a past project that had failed spectacularly. She was being honest and humble, hoping to show them that she had learned valuable lessons. At first, they nodded in understanding, but over time, Sarah began to notice something unsettling. Whenever a high-stakes project came up, her colleagues would subtly steer the responsibility away from her, reminding others of the failure she had shared. Her intention to be transparent backfired, as people now saw her as someone prone to mistakes rather than someone who had overcome them. Sharing past mistakes can also invite ridicule or judgment. People might listen to your story and sympathize outwardly, but behind closed doors, they might laugh or gossip. Worse, if these mistakes reach someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart, they could use this information against you, twisting your vulnerability into a weapon. Even close relationships aren't immune to this. A trusted friend might one day, in a moment of anger, throw your past back in your face. In such moments, Your attempt to be open becomes a source of regret. Just as damaging as revealing your past mistakes is the act of sharing your future plans too soon. Dreams are delicate, like seeds that need the right environment to grow. When you share your goals prematurely, you risk exposing them to negativity, doubt, and even envy. While some people might genuinely celebrate your ambitions, others, often unknowingly, might project their insecurities onto you. They might question your ability, discourage you, or subtly undermine your confidence. Imagine David, an aspiring entrepreneur who shared his detailed business plan with a friend over coffee. David was excited, full of passion, and eager for feedback. His friend, though well-meaning, couldn't help but voice concerns. What if the market's too saturated? They asked. What if it's too risky? Though David initially dismissed the doubts, they lingered in his mind. Over the next few weeks, his enthusiasm dwindled, replaced by fear and second-guessing. What could have been a flourishing idea became stifled by someone else's negativity. Even worse, revealing your plans too soon can invite competition or sabotage. There are those who, instead of supporting you, might feel threatened by your ambition or inspired to act on your ideas themselves. This is particularly true in professional environments, where ambition often intersects with rivalry. Sharing too much, too soon, can unintentionally place hurdles in your path before you've even begun. Let's revisit the ancient wisdom of the monk. His teachings don't suggest that you ignore your past or suppress your dreams. Instead, they urge you to approach both with discernment. Your past mistakes should be acknowledged and learned from, but they don't need to be broadcasted. Use them as stepping stones, not anchors. Similarly, your future plans are a personal journey. Protect them until they're strong enough to withstand scrutiny and negativity. The key lies in quiet determination. You don't need to shout your progress from the rooftops or seek validation for your dreams. There's a quiet strength in working toward your goals without distraction, allowing your actions to speak louder than your words. Consider the story of Emily, who dreamed of starting her own bakery. Instead of announcing her plans to everyone she knew, she spent months perfecting her recipes, researching the market, and saving money. When she finally opened her shop, it wasn't just a surprise, it was a roaring success. By keeping her plans private, she avoided unnecessary criticism and distractions, focusing solely on making her vision a reality. The monk's advice also encourages reflection. Why do we feel the urge to share our past mistakes or future plans? Often, it stems from a desire for connection or validation. We want to feel understood, supported, or celebrated. While these are natural needs, fulfilling them in the wrong way can lead to disappointment. True connection comes from actions, not words. When people see you succeed, they're inspired by what you've achieved, not what you've planned. There's also a lesson in resilience here. When you keep your goals private, you're less likely to be swayed by external opinions. You learn to trust your instincts and build confidence in your decisions. Similarly, when you choose not to dwell on past mistakes publicly, you free yourself from the burden of others' judgments, allowing yourself to move forward unencumbered. In the end, your past mistakes are chapters in a book that only you control. They're there to teach you, not to define you. Your future plans are like a painting in progress, beautiful, vulnerable, and uniquely yours. Protecting them gives you the space to create without interference. The monk's wisdom reminds us that silence isn't weakness, it's power. By guarding your past and your dreams, you reclaim control over your narrative and pave the way for growth and success. So the next time you feel the urge to confess a mistake or share an ambitious goal, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, is this the right person to share with? Will this help me grow or hold me back? By choosing discretion, you don't just protect your dignity, you create a space where your past can heal and your future can flourish. Trust in the power of quiet determination, and you'll discover a strength that no external validation can match. 3. Family matters. Protecting the sanctuary of your home. The monk's third lesson is one of the most universal and timeless pieces of wisdom. Never share your family's private matters with outsiders. At first glance, this might seem overly cautious, but when we examine it closely, the reasoning becomes clear. Family is a sanctuary, a space where we are at our most vulnerable. To share its struggles with the world is to risk the very foundation of trust and intimacy that holds it together. Every family experiences conflicts, whether it's a minor disagreement about household chores or a deeper misunderstanding about finances or life choices. Arguments are natural. They reflect the closeness and interdependence of family relationships. However, what distinguishes a strong family from a fractured one is the ability to resolve these conflicts within the home, without inviting external interference. The moment we start sharing family issues with others, we risk losing control of the narrative and, in many cases, escalating the problem. Imagine Sarah and James, a married couple who had been together for 10 years. One evening, they had an argument about their differing parenting styles. Frustrated, Sarah confided in her best friend, venting about James's decisions. At first, the friend appeared supportive, but over time, Sarah noticed that her friend began subtly criticizing James in social settings. "Oh, James always has such strong opinions, doesn't he?" she would say, accompanied by a knowing smirk. Sarah started to realize that her venting had shaped her friend's perception of her husband, and that perception couldn't be undone. What had started as a moment of frustration spiraled into a wedge not only between Sarah and James, but also between their family and friends. This story highlights a common pitfall when you share family matters with outsiders. You relinquish control over how those stories are interpreted, retold, and remembered, even if the conflict is resolved within the family. The outsiders you shared it with may continue to judge or misunderstand your loved ones based on the incomplete version of events they heard. This often results in tension or awkwardness, especially when family and friends interact. Sharing family disputes can also unintentionally invite interference. Well-meaning friends or neighbors might offer unsolicited advice, taking sides, or making judgments about your family members. While their intentions might be good, their involvement can create further rifts. It's not uncommon for outside opinions to fuel resentment rather than resolution, making a small problem seem larger and more insurmountable. Moreover, when family members discover that their private matters have been shared, it often leads to feelings of betrayal. The bond of trust within the family weakens, and the relationship becomes more fragile. Consider the impact on a child who learns that their parent has shared their personal struggles with others, or a spouse who feels embarrassed after realizing that their private argument has become public knowledge. These breaches of trust can linger long after the original conflict is resolved. In modern times, this lesson has become even more critical due to the rise of social media. Posting about family disputes online can have far-reaching consequences. What might feel like a momentary release of frustration can become a permanent record of your family struggles, accessible to friends, acquaintances, and even strangers. Such posts often attract comments and opinions from people who lack context or understanding, further complicating the situation. Worse, they can be revisited years later, serving as a painful reminder of conflicts that were meant to be left in the past. This isn't to say that you should suppress your emotions or avoid seeking support. There are ways to navigate family conflicts without jeopardizing trust or privacy. For example, confiding in a neutral party, such as a therapist or counselor, can provide the clarity and guidance needed to resolve issues constructively. Unlike friends or relatives, professionals are trained to listen without bias and offer solutions that strengthen family bonds rather than weaken them. Another approach is to engage in honest and open communication within the family itself. When conflicts arise, take the time to address them directly with the individuals involved, rather than venting to outsiders. Creating a safe and respectful environment for dialogue can often lead to deeper understanding and resolution. Remember, the goal is not to win an argument, but to preserve the harmony of your home. Let's consider Emma, a working mother of two who struggled to balance her career and family life. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, she had a heated argument with her teenage son about his grades. Feeling overwhelmed, Emma resisted the urge to call her sister and vent. Instead, she took a deep breath, waited until both she and her son had calmed down, and sat down for a heart-to-heart conversation. They discussed their feelings, expectations, and challenges. By addressing the issue privately and respectfully, Emma not only resolved the conflict but also strengthened her relationship with her son. The monk's wisdom about family matters is ultimately a call to protect the sanctity of your home. Your family is your foundation. The people who know you most intimately and who will stand by you through life's trials. By keeping their struggles private, you preserve the trust and respect that are essential for healthy relationships. This doesn't mean hiding problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means handling challenges with care and intention. The lesson extends beyond individual families. It teaches us about the importance of boundaries and the value of privacy in building strong, lasting relationships. In a world where oversharing is often mistaken for authenticity, the ability to keep certain things sacred is a rare and powerful virtue. So the next time you feel tempted to share a family dispute with a friend, neighbor, or online audience, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, will this help resolve the issue? Or will it create more complications? By choosing to address conflicts within the family and seeking support only from those who are neutral and trustworthy, you honor the bond that holds your family together. In doing so, you not only protect the dignity of your loved ones, but also cultivate a home filled with trust, respect, and peace. 4. Your weaknesses and strengths. The power of discretion. The monk's fourth teaching is a profound reminder. Your weaknesses and strengths are like the two sides of a coin. Both are integral to who you are, yet both must be handled with care. Revealing either your weaknesses or your strengths to the wrong people can expose you to risks you may not foresee. This lesson encourages us to guard these aspects of ourselves wisely, not out of fear, but out of respect for the power they hold. When it comes to weaknesses, the reasons to guard them are obvious. Sharing your vulnerabilities with the wrong people can leave you open to manipulation. There are those who, instead of offering empathy or support, might exploit your insecurities to gain an advantage over you. Worse, even close relationships can be strained when weaknesses are shared carelessly. A partner, friend, or family member might unintentionally use your vulnerabilities against you during moments of conflict or frustration, creating resentment and mistrust. Imagine Laura, a talented professional with a bright future. Laura confided in her colleague about her struggle with public speaking, hoping for advice or understanding. Initially, the colleague appeared supportive, even offering tips on overcoming stage fright. But when a big presentation opportunity arose, the colleague subtly highlighted Laura's weakness to their manager, positioning themselves as a better candidate for the role. Laura realized too late that sharing her vulnerability had given her colleague an advantage, not just over the presentation but also in how others perceived her confidence and capabilities. The same caution applies to strengths, though the risks are often less obvious. Sharing your strengths can seem harmless, even empowering, but it can also invite jealousy, competition, and unwanted scrutiny. When you openly discuss your talents or successes, you might unintentionally make others feel inadequate or threatened. In some cases, people may begin to downplay your achievements or, worse, look for ways to undermine you to level the playing field. Take Michael, a skilled musician who frequently shared his accolades on social media. While many applauded his accomplishments, a few friends and acquaintances grew quietly resentful, feeling that Michael's success cast a shadow over their own progress. One day, during an important audition, a supposed friend subtly sabotaged him by providing misleading information about the event. Though Michael eventually recovered, the incident taught him a valuable lesson about the quiet dangers of broadcasting his strengths. The monk's teaching doesn't suggest that you hide who you are. Instead, it invites you to approach both your weaknesses and strengths with mindfulness. Your weaknesses are not flaws to be ashamed of, but they are personal. Sharing them with those who haven't earned your trust can lead to unnecessary risks. Similarly, your strengths are not something to boast about, but they don't need to be hidden either. The key is to let your actions speak louder than your words. There's wisdom in knowing when and with whom to share. Vulnerabilities, when shared with the right people, like a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist, can lead to growth and healing. These are the individuals who will listen without judgment and offer genuine support. helping you turn your weaknesses into strengths. Similarly, strengths, when demonstrated quietly through consistent effort and results, earn respect and admiration far more effectively than words ever could. Consider the story of Tom, a self-made entrepreneur. Tom was an excellent negotiator, but he rarely spoke about this skill. Instead, he let his actions demonstrate his expertise. During a critical business meeting, while others relied on bravado and overconfidence, Tom listened carefully, asked insightful questions, and secured a deal that others couldn't. His quiet confidence left a lasting impression, earning him not only the deal, but also the respect of his peers. By keeping his strength understated, Tom avoided unnecessary competition and allowed his abilities to shine naturally. Conversely, there's power in guarding your weaknesses. Imagine Emma, a young teacher who struggled with classroom management early in her career. Instead of confiding in her colleagues, she sought advice from a professional development coach. Over time, she improved her skills and became a respected educator. Had Emma openly discussed her struggles with her peers, she might have been unfairly judged or labeled as ineffective, which could have affected her career progression. The modern world, especially social media, often encourages oversharing. We're tempted to present curated versions of ourselves, highlighting strengths to gain admiration or exposing vulnerabilities to appear authentic. While this might feel validating in the moment, it often creates unintended consequences. Publicizing your strengths too often can lead to expectations that are hard to meet, while exposing your weaknesses can make you a target for criticism or exploitation. The monk's wisdom reminds us of the value of balance. Your strengths and weaknesses are both part of your identity, but they are not all of who you are. They are tools to be wielded carefully, not flags to wave indiscriminately. Sharing them selectively ensures that you remain in control of your narrative. Reflect on this lesson the next time you feel tempted to boast about an achievement or confess a vulnerability. Ask yourself, what is my intention in sharing this? Is it to seek validation, connection, or support? And is this the right person to share it with? By pausing to reflect, you can choose your words and actions with greater clarity, protecting both your dignity and your peace of mind. Ultimately, this lesson is about empowerment. Guarding your weaknesses and strengths doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means valuing yourself enough to share these parts of you intentionally. Your strengths, when demonstrated quietly, speak for themselves. Your weaknesses, when shared with care, become opportunities for growth. By practicing discretion, you create a life grounded in respect, trust, and balance. A life where your true power lies not in what you reveal, but in what you choose to protect. 5. Your income and savings, a quiet fortune. The monk's fifth teaching emphasizes a wisdom that resonates deeply in both ancient and modern times. Never share the details of your income and savings with others. Money, as necessary as it is, carries with it the potential to disrupt relationships, alter perceptions, and create unintended conflicts. What you earn and save is not just a reflection of your financial situation. It's a personal matter that, when shared too freely, can lead to envy, judgment, and even exploitation. In our interconnected world, discussions about money often feel unavoidable. People casually talk about their salaries, compare expenses, or even flaunt their wealth on social media. Yet, behind these conversations lies a delicate web of emotions, pride, insecurity, jealousy, and sometimes resentment. The monk's advice serves as a gentle reminder that protecting the details of your financial life isn't just about privacy. It's about preserving your relationships and peace of mind. Imagine Lisa, a young professional who recently received a significant promotion. Excited about her success, she mentioned her new salary during a family gathering. While most of her relatives congratulated her, one cousin began acting differently. "Must be nice to afford all those luxuries," they said with a half smile, masking their envy with sarcasm. Over the next few months, Lisa noticed this cousin frequently asking for loans, assuming she had extra money to spare. When Lisa hesitated to lend, the cousin grew distant, accusing her of being stingy. What began as a moment of celebration turned into tension that fractured their relationship. This story highlights a common pitfall. When you share your income with others, you open the door to assumptions and expectations. If people perceive you as wealthy, they may expect favors, gifts, or financial help. And if you choose not to meet those expectations, relationships can sour. Even if you do lend money, repayment is often delayed, or worse, avoided entirely, under the assumption that you don't need it as much as they do. On the other hand, if you share that your income is modest or that you're struggling financially, the response can be equally damaging. Instead of support, you may encounter pity or judgment. People might question your ability to manage money, doubt your decisions, or even treat you as less capable. In both scenarios, sharing financial details can create imbalances in how others perceive and interact with you. This principle applies not only to income but also to savings. Your savings represent your hard work, discipline, and preparation for the future. Revealing how much you've saved can invite similar complications. Friends or relatives might downplay your sacrifices, assuming you've always had it easy. Worse, they might start to view your savings as a safety net for their own emergencies, putting you in uncomfortable situations where you feel pressured to prioritize their needs over your own. Consider David, a middle-aged man who had diligently saved for years to support his children's education. During a casual conversation with his friend group, he mentioned the substantial amount he'd set aside. One friend, struggling financially, later approached him for a loan. Although David initially agreed, he soon found himself overwhelmed with additional requests. "You have so much saved," they argued. "Why can't you help us out?" David realized that sharing his financial status had unintentionally created a sense of entitlement among his friends, leaving him feeling used and undervalued. The monk's teaching invites us to reframe how we view discussions about money. Your income and savings are deeply personal aspects of your life, and sharing them should be approached with caution and intention. There are better ways to navigate financial matters without exposing yourself to unnecessary risks. First, cultivate financial boundaries. Just as you wouldn't leave your valuables unguarded, treat your financial information with the same care. This doesn't mean you should avoid discussing money altogether, but be mindful of the context and audience. Sharing with a trusted financial advisor or a spouse can lead to constructive conversations. However, discussing your earnings at a dinner party or posting about your latest financial milestone on social media can attract unwanted attention and scrutiny. Second, recognize the emotional weight of money in relationships. Financial disparities can strain even the closest bonds. By keeping your income and savings private, you avoid creating dynamics where money becomes a source of tension. This allows your relationships to remain rooted in mutual respect and connection, rather than being influenced by financial comparisons or assumptions. Let's revisit the story of Emma, a single mother working tirelessly to provide for her children. Despite her modest income, she managed to save enough to buy her first home, a milestone she celebrated quietly. When asked by friends how she managed it, Emma simply smiled and said, "A lot of planning and discipline." By choosing not to disclose the specifics, she avoided potential envy or judgment. Her success remained a personal triumph, free from external interference. The monk's wisdom also applies to how we perceive others' financial situations. Just as you guard your income and savings, respect the privacy of others in the same way. Avoid asking intrusive questions about someone's earnings or expenses, and resist the urge to compare. Financial respect is a two-way street, fostering healthier interactions and deeper trust. In today's world, where financial transparency is often encouraged under the guise of openness, the monk's lesson feels refreshingly grounding. Your income and savings are not just numbers. They represent your journey, values, and aspirations. Protecting them allows you to live with dignity, free from the burden of others' expectations or judgments. So, the next time you're tempted to share a financial detail, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, why am I sharing this? Who needs to know? And for what purpose? By practicing discretion, you preserve not only your financial security but also your emotional well-being. Remember, your worth is not defined by your income or savings. It's defined by the values and principles that guide your life. By keeping your finances private, you create a space where trust, respect, and peace can thrive, both within yourself and in your relationships. 6. Your humiliation. The monk pointed out that revealing instances of past humiliation is a serious mistake. People you confide in might initially seem sympathetic, but over time, they could use those very stories to mock you, cause further harm, or turn you into a topic of gossip. Even those closest to you, like your partner, may bring up these moments during arguments, reopening old wounds and intensifying your pain. Experiences of humiliation often leave deep emotional scars, like wounds that are difficult to heal. These memories can make you feel powerless, insecure, and tied to the past. A Buddhist monk wisely pointed out that sharing stories of humiliation doesn't just hurt you further. It gives others the tools to harm you again. When you recount times you were insulted or disrespected, the people listening may initially appear sympathetic. Over time, however, they might use those very stories to mock or belittle you, turning your pain into their entertainment. This behavior isn't limited to acquaintances or strangers. Even those closest to you, partners, friends, or colleagues, might revisit your humiliations during conflicts, weaponizing them to gain an upper hand. Humiliation, by its nature, is a painful experience that no one wants to endure twice. But by retelling these stories, you essentially reopen old wounds that might have started to heal. Instead of letting these painful memories define you, it's far more empowering to keep them as private lessons, personal experiences that help you grow stronger. Choosing to stay silent doesn't mean you're weak or hiding something. It's a sign of strength and self-respect. Those who know how to protect their vulnerabilities from public exposure are better equipped to maintain control over their lives and relationships, preventing others from exploiting them. Take Anna's story. For example, she was a young, ambitious fashion designer with dreams of making it big. In her final year of college, she entered a prestigious competition, hoping it would launch her career. Instead of receiving praise, she was publicly criticized by the judges, who called her designs uninspired and lacking potential. The humiliation was devastating, and for months, Anna struggled to recover emotionally. Feeling lost, she began sharing her story with friends, coworkers, and even casual acquaintances. At first, people sympathized, but as time passed, she noticed whispers behind her back. Some even mocked her, referring to her as the failed designer. Realizing her mistake, Anna decided to stop talking about her past embarrassment. Instead, she focused on learning from the experience, honing her skills, and improving her designs. 3 years later, she won first place in an international fashion competition. When asked about her past struggles during an interview, she simply smiled and said, "Every challenge teaches a valuable lesson." Anna's story illustrates the power of silence. Not only did it shield her from judgment, but it also allowed her to channel her energy into achieving her goals. Anna's journey isn't unique. Many of us have made the same mistake of sharing humiliating stories, hoping for understanding or support. But these stories rarely ease the pain. Instead, they often anchor us to a negative version of ourselves, preventing us from moving forward. By revisiting these memories repeatedly, we reinforce the emotional hold they have over us, making it harder to escape the cycle of regret and self-doubt. What's crucial is learning to transform that pain into strength. Humiliation doesn't define who you are. What truly matters is how you rise from it, how you quietly work to improve yourself, and how you achieve new milestones. You don't need to retell your painful experiences to others because silence can often be the most powerful response. Let your actions and accomplishments speak for themselves. Keeping personal pain private not only protects your self-esteem but also creates a shield for your mental well-being. When no one knows your vulnerabilities, they can't use them against you. So don't let the past hold you hostage to negative emotions. Instead, treat those moments as stepping stones to build a better, stronger version of yourself. 7. Your friends and enemies. Revealing the identities of your friends and enemies may seem like an innocuous act, but upon closer examination, it carries significant risks. A Buddhist monk pointed out that keeping information about your relationships private is a wise way to safeguard your peace and maintain control over your life. In today's society, where relationships are easily judged, analyzed, and even manipulated, discretion is not just a choice. It is a strategy for preserving stability and balance in both personal and professional interactions. When you share details about your closest friends or allies, you expose them to unnecessary risks. If someone with ill intentions towards you discovers who your closest friends are, they can approach these individuals, build false connections, or sow seeds of doubt to weaken your relationships. This not only harms you but also affects the people you hold dear. Once trust is broken, repairing it becomes significantly more difficult. Conversely, disclosing information about your enemies or adversaries provides them with opportunities to exploit your relationships. Knowing who your friends are, your enemies can approach them, lure them to the opposing side, or use them as a means to gather information. When cracks like these begin to form, they don't just weaken individual relationships, but can also dismantle your entire support network. This is particularly dangerous in professional settings, where collaboration and trust are critical for success. Consider the story of Alex, a young and enthusiastic entrepreneur. Alex often spoke openly about his team, close friends, and even industry rivals. He believed that transparency showcased his strength as a leader unafraid of challenges. However, this openness led to a costly lesson. A competitor reached out to one of Alex's closest team members, established a fake relationship, and gradually gained access to internal information. This caused significant damage to Alex's business. Despite his efforts to recover, the loss of trust and time taught him the hard way that not everyone needs to know about the important relationships in your life. Alex's story applies not only to business, but also to personal relationships. Sharing details about close friends can create opportunities for jealousy or ill-intentioned individuals to disrupt your bonds. Similarly, publicly identifying your enemies provides them with a detailed map of your vulnerabilities. They will know whom to approach, what to exploit, and how to use your relationships against you. In both cases, a lack of discretion can lead to unforeseen consequences, affecting both your personal and professional life. Keeping your relationships private also helps maintain their purity and strength. The deepest friendships are built on trust and mutual understanding, and they don't require external validation or interference. By keeping these important relationships away from public scrutiny, you create a safe space where your friends can feel respected and free from outside pressure. This doesn't mean hiding or downplaying the value of your friendships, but rather being thoughtful about what you share and considering the intentions of the person you share it with. The monk also emphasized that discretion brings the power of ambiguity. When others are unsure about your relationships, they cannot predict your next moves or manipulate you. This ambiguity creates a strong protective barrier, making others hesitant and unable to formulate concrete strategies against you. This is particularly important in highly competitive environments where trust and loyalty are key factors in success. Throughout history, countless examples highlight the importance of keeping relationships private. Political leaders often keep their alliances secret to leave their opponents uncertain about who truly supports them. This uncertainty creates a significant advantage in negotiations and prevents betrayal. In everyday life, the same principle applies. The fewer people know about your relationships, the less likely they are to disrupt them. In today's digital age, protecting the privacy of your relationships is even more critical. Social media encourages us to share every aspect of our lives, from casual gatherings with friends to personal conflicts. However, such public exposure also invites unintended consequences. A simple post about a party with friends can lead to jealousy, gossip, or even damaged relationships if someone decides to create divisions. Maintaining discretion in the digital world is just as important as in face-to-face interactions. The monk's teaching is a powerful reminder. Protect your most valuable relationships by keeping them private. Cherished friendships deserve to be nurtured without the risk of external interference. At the same time, adversarial relationships should be handled with wisdom and tact to ensure they don't escalate due to unnecessary disclosures. When you consciously practice discretion, You not only safeguard those you care about, but also cultivate a sense of inner peace. Setting firm boundaries is the key to shielding yourself from avoidable harm, both now and in the future. The wisdom shared by the Buddhist monk offers a timeless and transformative perspective on how to navigate life with dignity and peace. By keeping your sorrows and helplessness private, you protect yourself from unnecessary judgment and manipulation. Revealing your past mistakes or future plans prematurely can lead to ridicule or sabotage, while sharing family matters with outsiders risks breaking the trust and harmony within your home. Guarding your weaknesses ensures they cannot be exploited, and being discreet about your strengths prevents unnecessary competition and envy. Financial matters, such as your income and savings, should remain private to preserve your relationships and protect your peace of mind. Avoiding discussions about past humiliations safeguards your emotional well-being and prevents your vulnerabilities from being used against you. Lastly, keeping your friendships and rivalries private shields those relationships from external interference and strengthens their foundation. The monk's teachings highlight the power of discretion in a world where oversharing has become the norm. Silence is not about suppression. It's about intention, choosing wisely when, where, and with whom to share your truths. This approach not only protects your dignity, but also creates a space where your true self can flourish. Life is a journey, and protecting these sacred aspects of it ensures that you move forward with grace, strength, and clarity. To everyone who stayed until the very end, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Your time and attention mean the world to us. At Mindful Glow, we strive to bring you stories and insights that inspire, empower, and guide you on your journey toward a more mindful and meaningful life. Your support encourages us to continue sharing these valuable lessons. If you found this video helpful, please consider liking it and sharing it with those who might benefit from these teachings. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Together, let's continue to grow, reflect, and bring more wisdom into the world. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us, and may your life be filled with peace, clarity, and resilience.